Welcome back, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Josh Fenton. This is Peter Snyder. He is the guru, the brain trust at the University of Rhode Island. Talk a little bit, exciting move from Lifespan over to URI.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a terrific move. I've been there for about a little under 2 years. I would not refer to myself as the brain trust at URI. I'm sure my wife wouldn't either. But I'm having a wonderful time leading the research mission.
Huge things have been happening at URI, whether it's been in bio, new engineering center, massive investments. I mean, these are literally hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes.
Of infrastructure and edifices that now litter the campus down in Kingstown. Talk a little bit about having those level of resources now to be able to build these programs, attract research dollars, begin to start really developing IP down at URI.
The growth, I mean, this is why I went to URI, because the vision for growing our state's research university into what it is becoming is so exciting. There's so much going on in terms of development of the science, the STEM sciences, engineering, oceanography, marine biology, but really across the university, the growth has been transformative. And what it has allowed us to do is to capitalize on these investments in order to grow our research portfolio from about $66 million 7 or 8 years ago to over $100 million now, consistently. And most of those funds that we bring in, these are all external grants to the state, are going for the most part to support job creation, job growth. I would say the lion's share, 70% of just about every grant that we bring in is earmarked for salaries. And these are jobs that we're bringing to the state of Rhode Island in the form of very well-trained research technicians, support staff, new investigators, research faculty, coming from all over the world to work with us now.
That's great. You know, URI has such a unique opportunity. Is there good synergy now building with the other colleges and universities? You know, we're seeing some major dollars come in. Obviously, the Ryan's gift to the university was significant.
Yes.
What have they given in total, 50 or 60 million dollars?
It's about 56 or 57 million in total.
And the last gift was 30 something.
Yes.
Those are real dollars. Real things are happening at Brown. We just had Dr. Salloway in last week on some of the things that he's working on. Are those things beginning to collide together and happen together?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, in point of fact, my own work, my own research is at Butler Hospital. My group is doing work with Dr. Salloway every day at Butler Hospital, and we're very proud of it. That's just one minute example of the many different ways that we're collaborating across the state with Brown, with RISD. We have a lot going on with RISD in terms of our environmental education, environmental coastal resiliency research programs that they're deeply involved with. Rhode Island College, we support researchers at most all the institutions in the state, if not all of them, that need to access high technology equipment, materials, and expertise at URI. Our labs and our centers for high performance research technologies is open to the investigators no matter what institution they're in.
Talk about a little bit about the new developments with the engineering school. What's that going to mean to URI, both from an experience of the undergraduate going through, but also the higher levels of science and being able to develop commercialized opportunities?
Yeah. So our engineering school was excellent before this new facility was built. And now we are really going to excel in a major way. The neat thing about the design of this new center, and I would invite just about anybody, this is your state's university, please come take a look. This new engineering facility is designed so thoughtfully in order to integrate across silos. So rather than setting up laboratories by department.
Electrical
That's
engineering
all
over here.
Yeah,
and,
it's all broken
right.
down. And these labs are designed, the whole building is designed to facilitate collaborative research. And what we're going to see, I'm sure of it, is increased competition to get into the school, high level of qualified applicants, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. Our faculty are firing on all cylinders. And yes, it will translate into intellectual property. It already is. We have an intellectual property portfolio at the university that is steadily growing. We had more than 20 disclosures of new inventions last year alone. Several startup companies, and we are seeing exciting growth in that area.
When do we flick that switch, though? And I would have this, and we've had the same conversation with folks from Brown. You know, we get the list of the 100 universities around the world that have the most patents, U.S. patents issued in the previous 12 months, and neither Brown or URI make that list. How do we get that from being, you know, if you go down to Penn, I don't know if it's the influence of Wharton, but everybody's an entrepreneur there. They come in as entrepreneurs. They've already had a company in high school, right? And probably a successful exit. How do we make that culturally integrated into how that student comes into URI, if that's their passion, and thinks about it and has the tools and support mechanisms to be able to develop their own pathway?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. This is a cultural transition that has to be made, and it takes time to change culture. I mean, there are two things that make this a challenging area to grow. The first is that all of these technologies, all these nascent ideas, you have to measure progress in terms of a decade or more. So something that we have cooking now that may be very commercially exciting.
We
the apps are easy.
We analyze things in 6-hour segments.
Yeah. Well,
Are we going to do that story? No, I saw that this morning.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work with IP development. So things take time, and also you have to place lots of bets in order to get one hit, right? And then the thing that I think is very important that you mentioned is changing the culture. We have a big emphasis now on campus at the undergraduate level to create both new majors, as well as to reward students with the appropriate coursework, the appropriate surround community, the appropriate mentorship, which is truly the most important thing, in order to grow that culture.
And you have to develop the faculty, right?
Yes.
You know, faculty, I went to URI undergrad. The faculty there, I can't imagine going to many of them. They're spectacular instructors, spectacular. Had a great experience there, but that wasn't within their DNA.
That's right.
You know, today I just saw Partners Healthcare announced a new venture fund for $80 million, right?
Yes.
To be able to compete, there's got to be capital. One of the things that we keep raising, you know, CIC is great at Wexford. All these incubation spaces are wonderful, but at some point you need some money to be able to scale these things. And Rhode Island right now functionally doesn't have a venture fund of its own, et cetera. Is there any thought at the university of trying to address that issue, pool together some of the resources, say to the Ryans, hey, why don't you and some of your friends pull together $100 million and really make this stuff go?
Well, I'm not going to put the Ryans on the spot because they've been inordinately generous with us to this point.
There's still more shekels in that Ryan.
But I think you make a larger point, which is that we do have to pool our resources more effectively. We actually are thinking of creating a venture fund.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a huge process, and we have to bring in the talent to even do that. I certainly can't say that I have the background and expertise to run a venture capital fund, but we know who does.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I bet our governor knows who does.
Yeah.
Given her
and I
background.
can name 3 or 4 URI grads who could assist in the development of that quite easily.
So we certainly are working along those lines, and we always have more to do. We have more to grow in terms of commercial opportunities for the state, driving economic growth. But I'm very proud of how the university is doing. Our Small Business Development Corporation provides consultation to over 800 businesses a
That's
year.
right.
Our manufacturers extension program,
Yeah.
another 200. That's 1,000 businesses a year that we're touching without compensation, just to be able to provide the supports that businesses need to grow.
If we enter into a recession, are URI students going to be ready for a different kind of economy? We've had 10 years. If you're 30 years
Yeah.
old, you've only been in a growth economy your entire adult life. Now we're likely, based on what the experts tell us, that we're going to go into some kind of economic downturn, whether it's 18 months or 36 months.
Yep.
None of us know. How does the university, especially in your world, in the sciences, get their students ready to compete in a much different world?
That's a very complex problem. So I think there are a number of ways to think about this. First is that we absolutely have to train our students to be competitive for the sectors, the industries that surround us. As an example, we actually cannot train and graduate engineers fast enough
Right.
for Electric Boat and for Raytheon.
Right.
They need more a talent, and it's up to us to provide that talent. So we have to gear programs to meet the needs, and that means we have to listen to the businesses and the companies.
And the average person doesn't understand that in these select engineering curricula,
Yeah.
the competition, students are being recruited as freshmen and sophomores.
That's right.
With summer
That's
with
right.
summer programs that
That's
pay
right.
$10,000, $15,000 plus.
That's right. That's right. And the other thing we have to do is to pay attention to, but beyond the recession, which we're worried about, what is going to transform the workforce that you and I, when we grew up, just wasn't an issue. And
Right.
I'll tell you one example of that is the role that artificial intelligence is going to play in totally transforming how jobs are managed, what sectors are employable in the future. That's a very complicated thing, and we're bringing together the expertise in computer science, computer engineering, cybersecurity to be able to begin to grapple with this. But I don't think anyone can fully appreciate how transformative
If
that
you
will
want a
be.
reality check on what's likely to take place over the next few years, that McKinsey study of identifying mammoth sectors of the economy,
Yes.
especially things like that wouldn't normally be anticipated, accounting.
Yes. Yes.
Just
Yes.
gone.
That's right.
And also likely to be gone faster in a down economy when corporations need to save money and save money quickly.
right.
Everything is now faster.
That's right.
So let's wait for 2 quarters before we make a decision of blowing out all our junior accountants.
Right.
No, we have about 3 minutes to make that decision.
Right.
And if there's a software that somebody's pitching us, we may jump into that a lot
Yes.
quicker than normally.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
but we also we see opportunities that we're rising to meet. As much as those are areas of concern,
Yeah.
there are growth industries that we're very excited about. The fact that we're entering a era of global warming and climate resiliency concerns.
Good for business at URI's
Good for
Graduate School of Oceanography.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely, because we see
Unintended consequences.
absolutely we see well unintended, but we need to meet the needs of our society 30 years from now.
Right.
And the way we're going to do that is by focusing on frankly, on the inevitable and planning for it and figuring out how to make our coastline more hardened, resilient, our communities safer, and to understand both at a basic research level and then to apply what we know in order to protect our children's future.
You guys have done a lot of good work and a lot of research and built a lot of tools, online tools, to be able to evaluate how sea rise is going to impact a land use in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And it's spectacular. You can go in, you can put in your address, you can
Yes.
see it. But it seems to have stopped. We promote it all the time. We build it into our content. We utilize it in our editorial work. But it hasn't affected public policy. You're not seeing communities making changes in their zoning. You're not seeing state decision makers making decisions. What is it a reality that it will only be addressed after something cataclysmic?
I sure hope you're wrong, I mean, obviously making that transition from research to policy changes at the community level is the toughest transition to make. But we have senators and congressmen that are absolutely behind this, behind working with Rhode Island to make the changes that we need to make. And the research that we are doing in this area is really going to inform the country, our military, our installations overseas in low-lying areas, which are spread throughout the world.
But even on a local level, we were just doing a story about an exit ramp coming off 195 into a section of the east side of Providence. And we hit back DOT and said, this may all be underwater, all of these millions of dollars you're spending on this bike path and this improvement and this in the next relatively short period of time, certainly a shorter period of time than the expected longevity of that capital investment. Are those things starting to come together?
I think they are. It seems like we're reaching a tipping point in our public debate.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm right about that because we all need to see this happen.
Right.
But URI is uniquely positioned
Absolutely.
to lead the conversation. And that's, as a public research university, this is part of our mission, is to advance knowledge, particularly knowledge that will impact the health of our population, our society, both economically and environmentally.
Peter Snyder, thank you so much. VP of Research and Economic Development down at the University of Rhode Island, formerly at Lifespan.